Hey, we're live. That's great. I just hopped on live in order to host my friend Jerome Shaw. So at some point he'll pop on in. Hope everybody's having a great day so far, and this is going to be an amazing conversation. I'm outside my house right now, enjoying some drizzling rain. And if the connection is good enough, then we'll stay out here. That's cool. Hey, Jerome, since request is good.
Hey, family.
Hi, Jerome.
What's going on, brother?
Hmm. I've been excited for this conversation, brother.
Man, likewise, likewise. Let me make sure I'm coming in clear for you, Peter. Is everything clear or is anything fuzzy for you?
Now, audio and video is really, really good right now.
Okay, good. Just let me know. Let me know because I'm on the Starbucks here. I'm on the Starbucks Wi-Fi over here. So,
Pasadena, California.
well, actually, I'm in Baldwin Park at the moment. Yeah, I was in
Oh, okay.
Pasadena. Yeah, I was in Pasadena earlier today, earlier this rising, but now I'm in
Hmm.
Baldwin.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah, bro. Yeah, you look like you maxing and relaxing over there, family.
Yeah, yeah. I'm propping my phone up on a couple little gardening pots that my mom has because I've been noticing that if I hold my phone for a long time, then it's just a direct connection to a lot of wireless technology, and it's nice to not have it in touching your skin as much. So.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, we're maxing and relaxing. My mom was born in Pasadena and moved with my family from Pasadena to Denver, Colorado. So it made
Oh
me really
wow.
happy to see that we're spending time there.
She was born here? Oh my goodness. Wow,
Yep.
wow. That's interesting because, it's funny that you so wait, you have roots in Denver or you've been to Pasadena as well?
I was the only one in my family of my three brothers who was born here in Denver.
Okay.
But both my brothers were born when we lived in Pasadena, or when they
Okay.
lived in Pasadena. So we go to visit, but no, I don't really have as many experiences. The public school system there was not up to my parents' standards, and they wanted a better public education for us. So that's the main reason why they moved to Denver. But the Los Angeles, Southern California area truly has a magic to it. Very pranic area, lots of sunlight. And I
Yeah.
just watched the film La La Land with Emma Stone and Ryan Gosling. And having spent a little bit of time in LA, and because I used to want to be a actor on the silver screen too, that was such a special um, spectacle to enjoy for a couple hours. That one really blew me away, and it makes me think of you because you're enjoying a lot of nice history and architecture there.
Wow. Wow, bro. Yeah, Peter, that is so resonating. Like, it's so resonant because I went to school for acting as well. I was a theater arts major, so performing arts, that was what I got my degree in. And, being out here as well, because I know you busk, you're a fellow busker, a fellow musician. So I've been going to Old Town, Pasadena, and I've been busking over there. I've been busking here in Baldwin Park and just playing my flute for different passerby. So it's been enjoyable, yeah.
No way! I had no idea that you did that. That's
Yeah.
fantastic. That's it's been really magical to me because it's really like you reap what you sow, and it just teaches you that you have to take a leap of faith, and that miraculous things happen when you take a moment to share your heart
Right.
with an energy of authenticity and bravery, and the amount that we are turning on other people and activating other people is just it's unspeakable. We couldn't even calculate how much of an impact we're having with numbers. It's so much more than anything you could ever try and calculate. So I honor you for that. And your flute playing is really inspiring when I got an opportunity to meet you in person. That was
Wow.
really a beautiful art form that you perfected and crafted.
Man, thank you, brother. Coming from you, that
So
means a
really,
lot. I appreciate it. From one to another. And when did you start? your music journey. When did you start busking even? Because that takes a little bravery, to just go out there in public and to be doing that in front of people, you know?
Yeah, that's really nice of you to ask. Thank you. It's so fun to share about. I have gotten to do a little bit of international travel with my family because my father has a heart for service and for learning about world culture. So I can remember being in a subway in Argentina, in their capital city, Buenos Aires, and we saw a duo um, playing a drum, and a man with a guitar was using his foot to activate another percussion element. There's like a tambourine on his foot. And that same trip, we saw a bass guitar player in the subway. And I would say that's really how my busking experience started, was being inspired by others and having that direct experience in big bustling cities. Where, excuse me, someone's taking a risk in front of people they don't know
Yeah.
and collecting pretty good tips and cash to support their lifestyle, however they want to interact and engage with the matrix and society. So I decided to try it for the first time in college when I was studying music in Tacoma, Washington, at Pacific Lutheran University. And I was studying jazz and taking private guitar lessons for the first time. And I had an improv seminar where we learned how to use scales and music theory to um, improvise and express ourselves that way instead of just, okay, learn a piece of music, play a piece of music,
Right.
learn a piece of music. It's like, how do we just become more playful? How do we, because that's really where a lot of authenticity shines through and a lot of originality shines through. So I would go and put my guitar amplifier on a dolly and wheel it down to the track near my university and just plug in where they had an outlet and practice playing for people who were far away from me. And I was very shy about it because electric guitar is it can be a very aggressive energy. It's right in your face. And I like 70s and 80s music with a lot of powerful, distorted gain and tone, and the electrified aspect of it. It's like you're really putting it right into people's face. On acoustic flute, it's very subtle and it kind of isn't as disruptive. But when you're shredding on a guitar, it's like, wow, that person's really trying to send a message or make a statement. So getting out for the first couple times, then here and moved back home to the Denver area of Colorado in a suburb that we call Arvada here. And I'd put my amplifier onto the dolly, which is a little bit heavy to carry. And I would go to our local middle school here, and plug into a outlet. And for the first time at Moore Middle School, I had a couple young girls of age about 13 walk across the street with a few dollars in hand, and they gave me a few dollar bills and said, "You're
Wow.
really good. Keep it up."
You
And I
remember
was
that
really,
moment?
yeah, that was the first, because that's the first time I was ever tipped playing in public. And I wasn't on a busy street corner. I was just at this middle school, but I was turning my volume way, way up, practicing my rock and roll riffs and Motley Crue, the Guns N' Roses, or what have you. And these two young ladies really enjoyed the music I was playing. Then a couple other young people later on came across the street. Um, so that really inspired me to play more.
And how did that feel? Like, if you could just recall that moment when you got that first tip, from somebody saying, I like what you're doing, keep going, or, how did that feel for you?
It felt like I was being nourished, and it felt like I was being appreciated and respected and seen and all those positive things. So I tell people, I appreciate every single tip, even if it's a piece of clothing or it's somebody's leftover sandwich or something. People give what they can. Some people even give a small piece of trash into my case instead of money, and I think one theory I have is that some people want to be part of appreciating what I'm doing. So
Uh-huh.
they copy the behavior of those that they see, but some of these people don't have the affordability, or they can't afford an entire $1 bill because they're very down and out. But anything that people contribute, it lifts me up.
You're
Um,
right too, because I wasn't even thinking about that, but you're right, Peter, because the other day somebody put, maybe it was a kid or somebody, but in my hat I found a coin that was like a Chuck E. Cheese coin. And it was like, it said no cash value, it was like one of them little coins, but it had like a planet, I think it was like Saturn or something on the other side. And I felt like it was like the currency of the universe. You know, that was like confirmation from
Yeah,
consciousness. You know, conscious confirmation, letting me know that this creation, this that we are emitting out here, is received. It's well received. So that's what I took it as. You know.
that's so beautiful, bro. I've also, that resonates because I've also received a Chuck E. Cheese coin of no cash value, but if you go into a Chuck E. Cheese, you'll live like a king. You can play any game with that coin, bro.
Where a kid can be a kid, they say. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
Charles Entertainment Cheese. He's a big role model for me.
Oh man. Oh man.
That's amazing. Yeah, it makes me feel so good when people tip, but often people will just take a moment out of their day and give me a verbal tip, just sharing how my music makes them feel with honest feedback, and it's overwhelmingly positive. Um, it's really good to have the challenge of also there's a little bit of discord or there's a little bit of dissonance, like someone doesn't exactly like what I'm doing. And when you put yourself out there, 90% of the time you're going to be received by the universe and everything's going to go well. But there's a small percentage of the time where a challenge is going to be presented to you because you need to grow and you need to strengthen your resolve. So those are some of the most growthful moments where there's, you have to come into respect for natural law. The Us buskers and us, street people who enjoy time in public, you realize that we're not going to constantly just call police officers. We're not constantly going to call the governor to come and solve our problems. We need to up our game and mature to a level where we're able to resolve things mano a mano or man to man or woman to woman and come into a sense of respect. There's more than enough space for everyone. Like
Absolutely.
there was a family posted up just 2 weeks ago when I was in Denver, and the mom was holding a sign for help, like we're struggling, we'd like some financial help, and she had her 3 kids around. So I thought, oh, I'll set up my guitar on the same block at the Ross Dress for Less. That's one of my spots, and I'll set up and I'll play music and I'll try and lift these people up with my energy. And maybe it'll also help bring people into awareness of where they are so maybe they can make more money. But as I was setting up, the little girl walked by and said, "Excuse me, would you mind setting up somewhere else? Because we feel like we're quite close to our hustle right now." And I'm kind of used to that because there's a bit of an unspoken rule about being a full block or two away from the next person.
Okay.
But since they weren't performing or sharing something constructively, I thought it was within my right to set up where I wanted to set up.
Right.
So I had a moment of internal tension where there were two ideas that came up in me. One idea was, no, I should persevere and just share my music so that they can be inspired and maybe do something more with their life instead of just begging, because it's not a good look, it's not a good energy, in my humble opinion. If you're going to be out there, I would say try and contribute something, and then you're going to receive more. When you give, you receive, right? So strategically, and just for the overall good benefit of the community, it's really good to think about how you can contribute something and not just be a parasite or just suck energy and ask and constantly ask. So that was one idea that came up, like, no, I can just play. But the other idea that came up was, how mature is it of this girl to probably, she was probably asked by her mom, hey, go ask that man if he can move. And I really respected her courage to come up to someone like me because I have a tall stature and I'm in pretty good physical shape. And even though I have a good heart, I could be a little bit intimidating for a little girl who's only 9 or 10 years old. So the fact that she asked respectfully and politely, I thought, I'm going to just go with the flow and be willing to pick up and go somewhere else. But I'm not going to lie, it really felt discouraging because in a way she was kind of rejecting my offering of setting up there and playing the music. So a little voice in my head came up saying, you should just pack up and just go home. Let's just try again a different day. And busking often takes a lot of persistence. Like you push through some of those emotions and those thoughts, or pushing through is one way to look at it, but I just realized it's more of a, you receive that emotion and you feel it so you can heal it. But then once you feel it, then you're allowed to let it go. And so that emotion that just came up doesn't have to necessarily directly impact the choice that I make. So even though I feel discouraged, I'm going to, in the face of that, continue because I've had hundreds of examples of when I pushed through and I was really rewarded spiritually and financially for making tips. but the feeling of pushing through and then people actually receiving you and giving you that positive feedback, which makes me think to ask, have you received a lot of positive feedback and the people giving you compliments on your flute playing and Pasadena?
Yeah, I have, and it's been nice because I've had a few people actually come by me and just receive it. Like you said, they didn't, put anything in, but they put their presence in. They gave me the gift of their presence. They gave me just the gift of them just being around me, and it was reciprocal. There was an energy exchange. So there were times where people have just thanked me for doing it out here. Like, thank you, like you said, raising the vibration, raising the frequency, just raising the state of being. And I remember people were telling me, like, people don't do this out here. I've been in areas where a lot of people wouldn't, wouldn't really find themselves going, especially to go busk or to play music. I mean, more people would go to Old Town or different places where I guess that's more expected. But out here, where some people are neglected, some people are rejected, on the street and just walk by, there's been people who have offered me things, like I think I had two people ask me for crystal meth. Another person offered me crystal meth, and then another person was just like, "Hey, do you want this or hey, do you want that?" And so the other day, Peter, a gentleman came out the laundromat and he had a box of donuts. And he opened the donuts and he asked me, he said, "Hey, take one," And I just kindly told him, "Oh, I'm fasting," right? And he said, "Oh, okay, oh, my bad, I'm sorry about that." And then he just reached into his pocket and gave me $5 instead. He just gave me like, oh, just because I told him I'm fat.
Wow. Unbelievable.
So
He was
stuff
trying to
like,
bless people.
yeah, so it's like you're blessing people and some people just feel it within them that they have to reciprocate that blessing. And for others, it's just, this guy was like, "Man, that tune's going to stay with me all day. Thank you so much for doing what you're doing out
Yeah.
here. And man, you just really did something for my soul, So yeah, I appreciate you expressing that and letting us know how you felt the first time that was acknowledged, the first time you felt seen, the first time that energy was shown back to you. Like they say, when you allow your passion to become your purpose, it may one day become your profession. You know, and when you let things
Wow.
flow through you, they flow to you. So that's what you're doing. Yeah.
Wow. It's so true. Like, my mom just mentioned to me that she had a yoga practice where she was asked to put the palm of her hand right under her feet. And she said that the circuit connected and she really felt an increase of very strong, tingly energy.
Yeah.
And I think that metaphorically, that's what we're doing when we're busting, is we're putting our palm onto the foot of the whole society, and we're really connecting the electrical current. They say that currency is just a current, you see? So instead of feeling like you're lacking abundance and not living abundantly, you can really just receive from people who live so givingly,
Yeah.
and tapping into the beauty of that has really changed my life, because it's not just in busking, but it's in conversations too. And it comes to having a listening heart. I recently thought that if you're speaking, you know what's going to be said, but if you're listening, you could always have something new that you're learning. So in music, they say Victor Wooten, one of my biggest mentors, who I met when I was busking in New York City. Victor Wooten's a jazz bass player. He says you have 1 year for your instrument, and you've got 1 year for the rest of your band. And if you're a solo performer, you can also put it this way: like if you're busking, you've got 1 year for your instrument, but you got 1 year for your audience, because you got to think about what are they trying to receive, and what kind of mood are they in. I had one lady who was very tearful at that same location where I had the experience with that homeless family, or the family begging for money. But this woman came up to me and gave a tip, and I said something like, I was playing, to get some context, I was playing Nothing Else Matters by Metallica, which is a ballad of theirs. It's a pretty beautiful piece of music, but I messed up a couple notes, and I jokingly, to connect with her, I said, "Oh, I get so nervous when people come up and are near me." I was trying to be honest, but then I noticed she was crying and very tearful. And I thought, oh, that was the wrong thing to say. I don't want to make her feel even worse. Like, should have just held my tongue. But she was just processing some emotions within, and because she had already tipped, I knew that she was appreciating what I did. But I thought to myself, okay, I've been sent here for this person right now. There's a perfect synchronicity of there is this lack and this need for emotional catharsis, and I'm the artist who is giving myself this responsibility to help people process the crazy trip that is life and all of the ups and the downs. So thankfully for playing that, it made her feel better. But I thought, okay, we can play a song that's even more vibrant, even more upbeat. So I played Blackbird by the Beatles, and I heard her giggle a little bit, like laugh to herself in the middle of my piece, and I knew that she was really coming into more of a balanced awareness of all the blessings in life. And I love when I see people cry. I love when I cry because it's simply necessary to feel it so you can heal it. And embracing those emotions coming from someone who's done a lot of depression and a lot of suppression of my authentic, vulnerable self. It's real spiritual healing that we enjoy and invite other people into. So it's so fun speaking with someone who also busts because it's not a terribly common profession. And sometimes people will jokingly say, "Oh, like in La La Land, there's a line that says, "Oh, the world doesn't need more lawyers. The world doesn't necessarily need more doctors, but I believe the world does need more justice because when we go out, people say, man, thank you for doing this because there's not enough of you. You know?
Man, man, breathe, breathe. And when it comes to receiving, because we were talking about giving and also receiving, what do you feel, Peter, has been one of the greatest compliments you've ever received while you've been out
Hmm, that's a great question. Well, the thing that comes to mind is a material thing. So I need to consider what's like your question's more asking about what's the best verbal tip I've gotten pretty much, right?
there? Yeah, like something someone told you that stuck with you.
Hmm, that's a really good question. Yeah, it's funny. Nothing really comes up to the surface immediately, but I think in the next few minutes I'll be able to process it and give you a good answer. I'm not exactly sure about that.
Yeah, it's all good. I remember somebody told me, and it was just like you were saying, with just a conversation, just having a dialogue with somebody, and them, you know, realizing that you even care to share that gift of your presence, or just to be silent with them to listen, because a lot of people
Yeah,
don't listen. So they said, if we're not grateful for what we have, why is God going to give us more to be ungrateful for? And then they told me something. He says, what if all you had left tomorrow was everything you were grateful for today? I said, ooh,
man,
you know?
that rings a bell. I think you dropped that gem on a previous live. I've definitely heard that
Yeah,
for
yeah,
no
yeah,
wisdom.
yeah. And it's just that stayed with me, and I feel like that's gonna stay with me for the rest of my life, because it's just a question you can ask yourself every single day. What if all I had left tomorrow was everything I was grateful for today?
That really puts things into perspective. Like you become grateful really quickly when you can actually feel that deep within you. Like if you really apply that idea, you realize that gratitude is what's going to help you survive. And you wouldn't want to let something go. If you had like a cherished ceramic that your family gave to you, you wouldn't want to just throw it in your backpack willy nilly. You'd really want to make sure that it wasn't going to break.
Right.
I'm metaphorically, I'm trying to apply that to any single thing that you're grateful for in life. Certainly, when I've tapped into gratitude and understood the power of verbalization and casting spells of power on yourself, like last night, um, I was feeling a little bit heavy and a little bit like I make certain choices and this life path it has ups and downs, but I was feeling like I'm in need of a little bit of self love right now. So I decided to cast some spells on myself and say, tomorrow I'm going to have a full day of productivity where I flow from one activity to another and I love myself. And as I was saying, I love myself, I felt this little half smile crawl upon my lips as if there was something within me that felt acknowledged in that moment. So that's a mantra that I've been taught. It's so simple and truly beautiful in its simplicity. I love myself. If
Powerful.
you can believe that, that's powerful right there.
Yeah, yeah. And there's so much beauty in simplicity, you know. The small affects the all. Like the little things are the big things. So even something as simple as saying I love myself over and over, I mean, it can work wonders. You know, it's like the whole Oponopono, the Hawaiian mantra, the whole Oponopono of, you know, I'm sorry, please forgive me, I thank you, and I love you. You can tell that to another person, but you can also tell that to yourself. You know, how often do we speak to ourselves in these ways? And I love that we have actually another musician over here. I don't know if she's still in here, but Solace Minerva, she was in here earlier. She might have left, but she said meeting other musicians through the experiences is a win for me. You know, yeah, it's definitely a win. The people that we meet on the journey.
Yeah, that's how I met my whole band. I'm in a group of brothers. There's four of us total. And it was through busking on the mall that I met Jake, the bass player, because he heard my music and he invited me to play with them. So one became three, then a drummer and a bass player, and I play guitar and I sing.
Yeah,
And then we had a friend come and play, a new friend from Boston, Massachusetts. He drove all the way to Denver to start a new life. He really leapt into the universe, without a his parachute on, you might say, but his arrival, he started playing chess with us on the mall, where there's public chess tables. And he hears the music and he comes and plays some guitar. And I hear that he's self-taught. He's only been playing a few years, and he's one of the most talented musicians who has a true gift for it and has the same type of interest in classical artists like Jimi Hendrix and Jimmy Page with Led Zeppelin. So he felt like I felt like a perfect glove into the band. So two of our four members are out traveling for the summer, but they're hoping to come back and join the fold in October. And so I can totally agree with what our fellow musician in the comment section said. Busking really probably the best way to connect with other musicians, especially if you're not doing as much posting content on Instagram, on Facebook. Social media and Craigslist are fantastic ways to connect with other artists. Obviously, these apps are just incredible. As you said recently, with the push of, with the touch of a button, now I can touch other people's lives. I thought that was a really cool thing. Um,
yeah, that
but
fast.
but getting out in person, that's even going to be more powerful than sharing a video or sending someone a message on a cell phone, because
Right.
there's zero pretension, or you could say there's no walls between you. There's no masks and there's no fakery. It's authentic and people feel it probably usually right at their second chakra or right below their belly button, where you say, oh, I got butterfly. I have a gut feeling. There's so much I've been learning about how we're really functioning from here. And sure, it can move your heart and you can feel heartache or you can feel a headache, but a lot of what we feel once we become really embodied and present is right there at the Dantian, right where we're digesting so much and processing so much.
Yeah, and even when you talk about the Dantian, when you call it the Dantian, Peter, do you have a lot of background when it comes to Eastern philosophies and Eastern ways and Eastern energy practices as well?
Yeah, I'd say I have a little bit of experience. I've never to physically be in Southeast Asia or China. My folks have gotten to visit, and my experience has mostly been through reading texts, like the Tao Te Ching I encountered in college, and that was uh, pretty pretty huge book for me. And upon reading it, I felt like this is finally a religious text that has true wisdom shining through it.
Wow.
And
How did the
I
Tao how did the Tao impact you, like in your life?
yeah, man, I think it's very artful, and I've attempted to communicate ideas through writing before, and a true artist and true writer can say a lot with a little.
Yes.
I think that's where the Tao shines, is in it's not verbose. It's very efficient, and every single chapter, every single line take consideration and takes patience to absorb and really comprehend, I would say. So some of the concepts, like one that just rises to the top in my mind, is the humility of water. Water flows down into the lake, and a large lake has humility to be low, the lowest, and beneath all of the streams. But it is not less than because it is lower and more humble. Sort of like another amazing, memorable line that Lao shares in the Tao is that with effective leadership, an effective ruler will do what they do, but at the end of the day, the people will say, "Oh, we have all done this. Oh, we as a society are great." And the true leader and the true king does not take credit. He simply allows everybody to rise collectively. So it's like one of the most profound and valuable and practical texts I've ever read. I really also have love for the New Testament and the Gospel of Christ, just because that's my background that I come from. But throughout my years, I've come into contact with the Bhagavad Gita from the Hindu tradition, which I haven't really read cover to cover, but I know that it's deeply profound. And I think at some point I need to continue my study into that one. I know in Buddhism there's some amazing texts, like I believe there's one called the Diamond Sutra that's pretty popular.
I've never heard of that. Wow.
Maybe it's not the Diamond Sutra. There's a lot that I need to revisit, but it was really finding the lectures of Apple Watts on YouTube that really brought me into a lot of this. I don't know if you've ever learned from that teacher named Alan Watts.
Yeah.
He's pretty well known. His communication about it just got my interest peaked and got me curious about Taoism, Buddhism, Hinduism, and so yeah, it's fun to share with people that I'm not a Christian, but I really have love and respect for the Bible. But I also so happen to have love and respect for other texts around the world. And how about you? Would you say that there's an Eastern thought that has gone into you considering breatharianism as your path, minimalism or chronic living?
Yeah, the whole less is more. I love what you said, Peter, about how they can do a lot with a little. They can say a lot with a little. We can have a lot with a little. And when I realized this, coming from a life of just an abundance of materialism all around me, and starting to shed those layers and peel back and let things go, giving away, donating, selling the books I wasn't reading, the clothes I wasn't wearing, the movies I wasn't watching, the video games I wasn't playing, all that stuff, and seeing what came back and how much more I could have with less. It became so paradoxical. So, like they say in the Tao Te Ching, true words can often be paradoxical. It can kind of seem backwards. The straight path seems crooked. Like different things, different principles like that. And I just love, how you pointed that out, where so much can come from so little. It seems so backwards, especially in societies where we're used to the levels of consumption that we're used to. But we're getting accustomed to something more mindful, something more enduring, something more alluring, in my opinion. So I just enjoy that, and as well, reading the Tao and having that affect you, and having those words kind of saturate your being. It's into every facet of your life. Like that saying when you were talking about water, how water is so humble. It seeks the low places, it nourishes everything it touches. And the sea is the king of streams because it lies below them. All waters flow to it. All waters flow to you because you lie below it. That concept made so much sense. It was genius.
Yeah.
It was like, wow.
I find that any concept that has its analog in nature will find to be resonant, because that's our direct experience. if there's a concept that cannot be described metaphorically or visually, or a concept that does not have its analog in nature, it becomes very theoretical, and it doesn't really have its substance and practicality and in the realm that we truly live in and function in. It's really an opportunity that I have right now to just have an open dialogue with you, because I used to watch your lives before we met in person. And frankly, when I would watch your lives, certain curiosity and certain questions would come up in my heart, like, wow, what inspired Jerome to be on this path of minimalism and less is more and breatharianism? And I'm just curious to ask a little bit about how that's going for you right now. And I know I agree with you that it's so alluring to consider that we could enjoy the small things so much, that when you let go of what we think are the big things, oh, I need to own a house, I need to own a car, I need to have a big family, I need social status, all these things that we think we need. From my experience, when we let go of those things and we can appreciate the sound of birds, we can appreciate dipping our feet into a cold stream, we can appreciate a single deep breath of fresh air. And I'm just curious to hear a little update on how's breatharian going for you, and what are some challenges or what are some victories that you've been enjoying?
Yeah, you said it, Peter. You know, when it comes to appreciation, gratitude for those tiny moments, the moments that seem meaningless to some, that seem insignificant to others, they make all the difference, when you're able to insert yourself into that moment and have, just that sense of inner peace that is like a wellspring that springs from within you. I used to go out the outside and externalize these things and always think that I needed to find something, or I needed to grab something, or I need to have a hold of something. And all these possessions started possessing me in a way. It was like anything that I felt like I had to hold on to was actually holding me back. It was holding me down from, my limitless potential. And even the concept of thinking that there was a barrier, it was all in my mind. It was a belief system. So even people like Elitom, who we saw at the Sedona retreat, he'll talk about breatharianism as just another belief system. It's another program, but he's under that program instead of the program that he used to be under. So he just swapped, like a human bio machine or like a computer. He uninstalled the file and then reinstalled something else. But if you don't know that a program exists, you can't download it. So as I was downloading all the games on my Xbox 360 and my Xbox One and PlayStation, there were so many things that I was assimilating into the mental makeup and the matrix of my inner world that I had no idea that unconsciously started to become manifest for me in my outer reality, because I was being governed in my inner reality. They say that the one who cannot control themselves, or the one who cannot obey themselves, rather, will be commanded. So there were many things that I was under the jurisdiction of. Okay, what food am I going to eat? What job am I going to have? How am I going to make a living? Right? How am I going to make a living? When we hear people like, that say the secret to living is giving, and what was I giving back then? I was giving so much time and attention to lack, to scarcity, to feeling that I wasn't enough, I didn't have enough, I wasn't doing enough, I wasn't saying enough, I wasn't being enough. So I wasn't being fulfilled because I was always looking to be satiated by something else, and it wasn't nutritional, it wasn't nourishing for me. But when I did like you and I started to get out into nature, I started giving to others without even expecting in return. Energy started booming like a boomerang. Everything I put out started to come back to me for better or worse. So that's one of the things that led me to this path. Yeah.
That's right.
So thank you for the question.
Yeah. Yeah. I love how when you're asked about these things, from my experience watching your lives, it really comes down to a place of how are we feeling?
Right,
Are we being nourished?
right,
Because
right.
our goal on this path of lightness and on prana is to enjoy. I think our goal here and our purpose here is twofold. And it is a paradox because there's no true purpose, but as beings who are always interested in finding a purpose, I heard something pretty profound that really does resonate. I think one fold, we're here to connect, and connection is huge. But two, on number two, we're here to enjoy, you know? And we're really here to, by enjoying, we're really giving thanks, and we're really appreciating this gift of life that we've been given. So, the funny thing about those two is it's in our nature, and it's not a difficult goal. It's more about uninstalling the programming, as you recently put it, as opposed to, oh man, I have all these things I need to go do. It's very much like Yoda from Star Wars. You must learn, or you must unlearn what you have learned. Like that's one of the iconic lines of the whole series. And as I was talking about Taoism, funny thought that came to my mind is I think that I was trying for receptivity by Star Wars and by George Lucas, because the religion of the Jedi isn't too dissimilar from Taoism at all. And I like some of those principles of we're all connected by this invisible force.
Right.
And some people who are getting into telekinesis, like Elijah in our community, like some people are literally learning how to make that invisible connection more visible. And it's a beautiful testimony of how we can, through our concentration, our focus, we can influence the clouds and help the sun shine through. We can move objects. We can like send thoughts and healing thoughts into people's minds. And we've truly been just forgetting all that we are. And we truly are just gods in this realm. And you're helping to prove that. I really feel called to a concept like when I met you in the flesh, Janet, your companion you were with, said, he was like, yeah, the van life's been fun, but sometimes I consider even selling the van and just having a satchel and a walking stick and just making my way barefoot from place to place. And it really seems like that's kind of your MO these days. But do you have a place that you live that's like somewhere that you own, or do you enjoy being a bit of a nomad?
Yeah, I'm enjoying nomadic. Yeah, just, kind of being an itinerant nomad, being the vagabond, just kind of being the wanderer, the wayfarer. Somebody called me the wayshower the other day. They said, you're the wayshower.
Yes.
I feel like I'm just out here just living my life and, just going from place to place. And it's been wonderful to be in different places and different spaces and to meet new faces and to get acquainted with other people who are on their own path, on their own journey. And Janet is one of those people, So I was glad that we came together at that time. And now that, we've gone apart and we're going to different places, she always talks about holding down the light grid, that we're like light workers in this light grid. We may be few and far between, but we come back together. So that's one of the things that I'm thankful for technology, that it allows you and I to speak, even on this device, that some people might seem or think is divisive, but I feel like it's really bringing us together in a harmonious way where we can make music, Yeah, the universe, the one song, like we're all coming together. Yeah.
It's so true. Yeah, I was just reflecting on the devices recently, and I was thinking, okay, you can use Google and look up a question like, are seed oils harmful for you? And it will tell you more or less the truth. And I know that nutrition science is very complicated and there's differing opinions, but we can't just reject the potential that these amazing tools have because of how much we have educated ourselves. And education is more or less like connection between, you might have expertise in something like music and your experience, but someone else, maybe they've been doing research into a topic of great consequence like seed oil or watermelon seeds or all of these great things as we try and discover, how do I truly nourish myself? I bring up the seed oils thing because I actually wanted to ask you if you've encountered any like direct experience with that exact ingredient. And I know it's a bit of a tangent, but a couple nights ago I was enjoying some snacks and I started to feel really bad afterwards. And I've been smoking a little bit of marijuana, so I was really sensitive, and I just spent a week totally sober with my family where I wasn't smoking any weed at all. But I was a little bit stoned, and I was eating products that had seed oils in them, like peanut oil, sunflower oils, and unfortunately I had this really visceral reaction, like oh, this is just really slowing me down. This feels very heavy and toxic. And I just remembered I needed to read all my labels. And that's one that started out as like a machine lubricant. And then they really wanted to save money and not having to throw away a lot of these oils and stuff. So they've been putting it into food. But have you ever had it in like very specific encounters with foods like that where it felt like it was hurting you?
Uh, Not seed oil. I don't know. I don't know too much about the oils like that. The seed oil. That yeah, I don't have too much experience there that I could talk about. But I know that my body has definitely reacted much differently to things that didn't used to affect me before. That when I got onto more of a chronic lifestyle and fasting became my regimen and routine, when I went back to those substances, like even condensed soups, tomato soups, or even a chai, like a latte or something, it felt like I had poisoned myself. It felt toxic on a drastic level, like over exaggerated. I felt like, what did I just do to my body? You know, and that it didn't make sense to me at the time because I was like, this never used to hurt me before, but now that my body has been detoxed and the passageways are more clear. When I ingest certain things, it's very toxic. So that gave me the question. Was it always poisonous? Was it always toxic, and my body just somehow adapted to this chemical imbalance and just allowed me to somehow be in homeostasis, keeping my pH levels the way they needed to be. And then when I got to that level of detox, now when I reintroduced this substance back into my body's asking me like, what are you doing? What's the point? Like, why? We already got over this. We've already overcome this. Why would you put us back? So
Yeah,
it's interesting how different things can affect us in different ways.
yeah. What you're saying is so reminiscent of Hilton Hoshema's vampire consciousness. And that was the
Yeah,
first time I ever encountered that concept. He talks about how
yeah,
a newborn baby or an infant or a child cannot handle smoking cigarettes. But when you really get used to it, you can be a pack a day smoker. And his argument is we should not be pursuing immunity. That's really the wrong concept. Like, why would you want to be immune? You want to be sensitive and you want to be light. It just does restrict what you can engage with and what you can interact with. So that is really encouraging to hear because it's a good thing that your
yeah.
body was healthy enough to reject it. It's
Yeah,
not part of it's not part of your software to handle and to
right.
digest and to accept that life. Your body's like, no,
Yeah.
MFer, we're past that program, baby. We need to be on this lighter stuff because you've been
You
really
you
thriving.
you've been upgraded.
Yeah,
You can't put a floppy disk into a CD-ROM, right?
that's exactly it. I
The
love
floppy
that.
disk won't go into the CD-ROM no matter how hard you try to force it in there.
Yeah,
It's not going in there. It's been upgraded. The
yeah,
hardware is different. The software is different. It needs different, you know, to assimilate. So that was like that attunement. But you could even call it the natural state because what do we really need? You know? If it's the body's constitution to be healthy, then the moment we stop putting in, it goes back to the natural state. So that's Hilton Hotema, the man's higher consciousness, blew my mind. That was like me. I was like Neo on the keyboard, and Trinity is responding to me. You know what I mean? Like that was me reading those pages
yeah.
and seeing the comparison and the parallels that Hilton Hotema talked about when it came to food addiction, when it came to salt, when it came to sodium intake, all these different things, and comparing it to an addict, to be strung out on heroin, to be strung out on substances and have to even, be rehabilitated or even just go through a level of withdrawal, you know, it's no wonder. It's no wonder, that these things are really hard to let go because, for one thing, we don't associate them with the other things that we associate that we say are harmful. We don't think that these things are harmful. So, yeah, it's just, I love these conversations.
Yeah, I'm glad we're finally getting into like this specific topic because this is such an important thing, and
Yeah.
I've really, I want to take this opportunity and really make the most out of it, because you're someone who's really on the path, and we don't yet have we don't have yet, in my experience, the masses experimenting with this stuff. People are starting to catch wind of it, which is beautiful, and people are starting to hear whispers of, oh, this and that, but we just don't yet, it seems, have a high percentage of people who are like, yeah, let's try a 1 week dry fast. Let's do 1 week on liquids. You know what I mean? And so in my experience, I did 1 week on liquids, and it changed my life forever. I thought, this is unbelievable. I feel youthful. I felt like I had the body of a 16-year-old. I was only sleeping 2 or 3 hours a night with no detriment to mood or energy. My body was really healing, but I'd done a lot of enemas to prepare for it. I've been doing looping my urine for the first time. And so cleaning my body from the top end and from the bottom end,
Right.
it really seems like it set me up for success. And I've done 50 hours dry. I was going for a 3-day dry fast and only made it to 50 hours and went into my shower saying, I'm just going to run water on my head. But then I allowed some to dribble into my mouth and decided, oh, it feels so nice to drink this dry fast.
Right.
But I'm excited that it's really so easy. Like, as you said recently in one of your videos, the funny paradox about not eating and living chronically is that if you're in one mental state, it is so hard. But if you're in a different mental state, it's actually the easiest thing.
Right.
Because when we're with our friends, and I can imagine in my life, if I'm on a hike up to the summit of a mountain, or I'm playing frisbee, or I'm doing breath work, I'm not thinking, oh, I really want to eat a peanut butter and jelly sandwich and some coffee right now. It's the last thing that you would think about. So I do believe it's possible for people to get into a chronic nourishment, and we can really lead the way and walk on the path that's been less trodden upon, simply so that we can inspire others and kind of break this trail. And there are hurdles that come about. And it's challenging emotionally to experience so much reprogramming and coming into new knowledge and new awareness, but it feels worth it because I don't any longer have any fear about a food shortage. I don't have any fears about not having a fresh, healthy source of water. I don't really have a lot of fears that I used to have because my programming is changing. And I know now that food is for entertainment. And foods from day one have been about entertainment. It is a form of energy, but once we practice deeper breaths and spending more time in the sun and exercise, I think those are the three biggest things about maintaining your vehicle. It's water, electrical, and beautiful vehicle that we have.
Wow. Beautifully said, brother. Thank you for
Yes,
that.
brother.
And
Yes.
on that note, man, I appreciate this conversation. This has been amazing. You manifested right now when you were just talking about that because folks have joined. Luisa from Sao Paulo, Brazil, and also Nargis. She's going to the next Pranic festival that they're having in Italy as well, and she's been spreading the message. So many people who are already spreading the message and are tuned into this frequency were drawn to this video right now. As we've been talking. So take that as a confirmation of the affirmation, that we're always on the path. We go up, we go down like a heartbeat, like the EKG monitor. But it comes in waves. We're surfing out here. We're learning how to ride these waves. And I just appreciate you for just being unafraid to play, unafraid to embrace your inner child, unafraid to display that for other people and to emulate, these qualities because the energy is reciprocal. It keeps coming back. So I received it. Thank you.
Yeah, you're a big inspiration for me, Jerome. It's been a privilege, and whenever I see you next, we're gonna have to talk a little bit about the
Yeah,
barefoot
we
life
will. We will. We will.
because that was the only thing that I didn't really bring up. But it makes me happy to see you sharing videos of you in Pasadena going barefoot, and it's one of the best things to break people out of their construct and help to deprogram them. It's like it's hard at first, and then it becomes easy and fun. So I honor you for that, brother.
Right. Thank you, man. Just as you were saying that, bro, like, a kid from yesterday that saw me busking out there. He came and he pointed at my flute just now, and he was like, "Hey man, I like that. I like that." It's like, keep playing, you know. This it's just you get to the point where you know what I'm saying. It's just the love. It just always comes back. So much love. Louisa said yes, ups and downs. Great for going up. Thank you. Great to hear you too. Great to hear you. Great to see you. And it's a pleasure. It's a blessing to be seen. It's a blessing to be heard. And till next time, till the next episode, we'll definitely get into that barefoot life next time. I want to get into it.
Yeah, gratitude to you, brother. Hope you have a great rest of your day. Enjoy the sun.
All right. All right, family. Take care.
Bye.